This stuff Yom Yerushalmi Shekalim in the article edition run Nun Aleph and Ralph. Very easy to find. Being new parak. Moshe Nun Nim to Ben Shekalim and Dava. Evidently, article. I'm saying the Vilna Yerushalmi, it's the topic of Ches and Base, and in the Vilna Bab Yerushalmi and Yutas and Ralph. So Moshe Nim to Ben Shekalim and Dava. If you find money in the base HaMikdash between the pushkas, as between Shekalim and the Dava. Now the Shekalim was the first one, and the Dava was the last 6, and there were 13 pushkas. They're not next to each other. The Gemara is going to ask that question. But in any event, says Gemara, Nimtzu ben Shekalim Dava, Karav Shekalim. If the money is closer to the pushka of Shekalim, Yipul Shekalim, we assume comes to the box of Shekalim. And in the Dava, if it comes closer to the box in the Dava, Yipul in the Dava. Then they go to the Dava. Mechza, Yipul in the Dava. If it's precise in the middle, then they go to the Dava, and the Gemara is going to have to explain that. Ben Eitzin Levana, if it's between the pushka for wood and the pushka for Levona, which are the 5th and 6th pushkas. Karav Eitzim is close to for the wood. Yipul Eitzim goes to wood. Levona Yipul Levona. Levona goes to Levona. Mechza Yipul Levona. If it's 50-50, then it goes to the Levona. The reason it goes to Levina is because the Moshe explains Levana Kreba Hi Atzma. Levina it itself is brought as a carbon, so it's more, therefore it's more severe. The Eitzim Machshir carbon and the Eitzim are only Machshir carbon. Okay, next. Ben Kinim goes to Ola. If it's between the Kinim and goes to Ola, which we had in Machlekes in previous parak, but the Kinim is Kini Chayva, or Kinim is just older birds, and it goes to Ola as younger birds. Carve the Kinim, Yipul Kinim, it goes to the Kinim, goes to Kinim, it goes to Ola, goes to Ola, Yipul goes to Ola, Mechza. If it's 50-50, Yipul goes to Ola. So the goes to Ola, and the Gemara is going to explain that as well. Bein Chulun Meiser Sheni. This is of course not in the base of Mikdash. If you have a pushka of Chulin and a pushka of Meiser Sheni, carve the Chulin, Yipul Chulin. If it's close to the Chulin, it goes to Chulin. Meiser Sheni, Yipul Meiser Sheni. Mechza, if it's 50-50, Yiplu price in the middle, then Yiplu Meiser Sheni, they go to Meiser Sheni, which is obviously more severe than the than Chulin. Zaklaw's general principle: Hochin Achar Korov. We go after whatever's closer. Mechza, if it's 50, precise in the middle, Lachmir, they have to go after whatever's more stringent. Okay, so I'm going to ask Lo Tzurchadah. It should not be found between Shekalim and Nedava in our Mishnah. It's found ben Shekalim leKinim, because the one next to Shekalim was Kinim. Now, technically speaking, there were 2 Shekalim ones, right? Taklin Chadatin and Taklin Atikin. So it should be found between the Taklin Atikin, the older Shekalim, which we bought, which was still obligated from last year, and Kinim, which was adjacent to it. Right, not Nedava, which were the last ones, right? So, because Kamin Kuchlaim, now the different Gusos here. Here it says Kuchlaim, the Tachanite is Kuchlaim, the Marfulda has Kamin Buchliar. They're all words which mean the same thing. The pushkas were in a circle, so the last one was right next to the first one. That's the nature of a circle. So that's it says. That's why you have one which goes from the Shekalim, Taklin Chadatin, and adjacent to it is the Nedava. Okay, so it says more going to the first psak in our Mishnah says it said Mechza Yipul Nedava. So Lo Tzurchadah. Ella, the law, right? The law, and Yerushalmi is the Ella. Mechza li ipu lishkalim. So if it was in the middle, it should fall to shkalim. Now the Gra has a very different girsa, and that of course goes to the Gra and changes it to Mechza people in a Dava. But I'm going to go with the Girsa of our Gemara here, which is the Girsa also in the Reb Chaim, he doesn't change the girsa, so we'll go with the girsa in the Gemara. So Gemara says if it's 50, if it's half, it should go to shkolim, but seems to be more chomer. Now let's go to carbonator. Parach lo tzurcha, lav elameimar. It shouldn't say that goes to dava. Ela mertza pulish shkolim. Should be in carbonate tzibur kvuim. We bring that carbonate tzibur, the regular carbonate tzibur, which are more severe. Shaking a dava, she indicates its back. Then the davas which only come when the mizbeach is empty. So the Gemara says, there are two answers here. There's one answer. There's one so to say that reason why I don't give it to shkolim is because it might end up being going to shor lishka, as Carbonated explains. The issue also taritz dainu taima the loyipul shkolim. The reason why they don't go to shkolim is the family is vasu shkolim because sometimes there's shkolim left over at the end of the year. B'shor shkolim and what's after the shkolim goes to chomas hayir, goes to the walls of the city. The low karbanos. Let's go to karbanos. The low karbanos, but don't go to karbanos. So it comes out that in that scenario, the dava is more severe. Then there's another interesting answer. Mark is Easter Meimar mechza kamisha mace. If it's in the middle, it's as if the person died. So it says the carbonated mechza shkolim shimtzu b'mechza lemechza have like a shekel shemesu bailov. It's like a shekel whose owner died. It's because it's in Lumdus, it's not as loses its status of a shekel, I guess. So the sheyipu neifel nadava which should go to nadava, as we shall see in a moment. So that is a very interesting Lumdus here. That when it's in the falls that situation middle, it's as if the owner died. So there's you can say a lot of lumdus here, I'm sure, but it's like a choshen mishpat death, not a Yerodea death. Right? Yerodea is actually where halachas of people dying a prior, but this is not. It's the since the ownership of this money is in doubt, so therefore it's like a virtual death. Okay, so and that's like Rabbi Yassi said. Ana Tama, we had the same sechta. Ana Tama still in Chutzlar. Sham is called Rabbi Yehuda. I asked Rabbi Yehuda Shal Shmuel. Has Shmuel Yifish Shekel and Bashikla Mesa? He said sorry shekel and he died. Where does it go? Amar Le Yipul in a dava. He said it goes in a dava, and here too, since it was Choshen Mishpat, it's dead because it was Mechza, no longer affiliated with definitively with Shkalim, so therefore it goes to Nadava. I think it's a little bit to hint at that into the talking Chadet in that this idea. He says Kamisha Mace, Kamisha Ifi Shikla Mace, to Av Zeb below Bailim, Kamosha Mace, Mace Dina Deep in the Vow, Kamar Besamach. It's loses the question mishmat death. Okay, so the Gemara goes on. The next statement is not really related to our Gemara. The article brings them for the Rashi Sabilio that this is also stated by Rabbi Yasu. So therefore it's brought down now here as well, and it was also brought down earlier in the Masechta recorded the previous statement. Rabbi Yasu recorded this as well. Most of our serious official of the Kohen Gadol has leftover funds after buying the Asir Sa'ifa, which is his daily carbon. What do you do with them? Rabbi Yochanan says they are brought to Yamelch, meaning you can't derive any benefit from them. We only find that Mosa goes to Nadava by Chatos and Osham, but not by Asir Sa'ifa. So therefore you have to take Yamelch. Rabbi Yipul says no, these two can also fall to Nadava. They didn't find it, but it's nevertheless going to go to Nadava as well. Now, before we go on to the next part, I wanted to see Pnei Moshe. Pnei Moshe speaks about a very basic question, which is in Bava Basra, we know that Rov Akarov, Haracharov. If you have a question of determining the status of something, and you can determine it based on Rov, based on Korov, you go after Rov, not after Korov. And here the Pnei Moshe asks, certainly the Shkolim were Rov relative to the Dava. So therefore, why we go by the Korov and not by Rov? So let's see that Pnei Moshe. It's going on the question of Gemara, Lo Tzurcha da Ela Mechza Mechza Pulu Shkolim. And it's a very, very fundamental Pnei Moshe. says Ashta put parach aikar the dina. Now it's asking on the basic halacha. If it's in the middle, it goes in the dava. V'amai. Why? It should be to make sense rather to say the mechza shekalim, like our gersa, not like the cross gersa. The time and the reason is to mistamel all mashkalim rovim neged the dava. We assume the shekalim are the majority of coins relative to the dava. The dava ain't element of masaros. The dava, at least according to one opinion, we say it's from whatever's left over at the end. It's not vim lolos or it's from something because in the dava for olos behema ain't only from him, but that's also occasional. Vashkalim ain't tummy because shana v'shana. The shekalim are constant every year because it's for all Jews. So it's going to be massively more amount of shekalim than there are going to be in the davas. The Hebrew, although. Yeah, I guess you could argue, but the Matthias, because there were 6 pushkas of Nedava and only 2 pushkas of Shkolim. But all right, it's still a basic question: why is Rov not come factor here? Let's go follow Rov. Let's follow Rov. When the beat of a ratio, the curve in the Nedava, you put in Nedava. Okay, so you ask question on the ratio: why, if it's curve in Nedava, is it go to Nedava? Lokash, that's not difficult. Well, Kaimalon, Rov curve Rov. How you can ask in the ratio, like we just asked, the Isa Luruba. Why do we go to the majority? If it's down close to the Dava, let's say it comes to the majority, which is Mistoma Shkolim. So he says, Dalesa. Says no, that's not true. The law mean you only say Helach HaCharov where there's no clear-cut assessment, a definitive assessment. Aval Chacha, the Kurva, the Muchachu, Chazak of Umdana. So it's a Kurva, the Muchach. It clearly, the Karov clearly indicates that it came from that Pushka. The Shemir Karvain, Velosim Saru Chaygavna. They were not for majority. Who the kasha my loy plugshkom. So it's only a question by mechza, right? And there we should follow the rov, and the Gemara says no because it's more chomer, either because it's more chomer that it goes to the dava, because then it actually will definitely come as a korban as opposed to going to shir lishko, or because it's as if he died and therefore it should go to the dava. But the main reason I saw his pain motion is because he asked that question. Why don't we say Rav Karva Charov? And he comes up with this answer, and he says, of course, you can give other answers, but he comes to the answer that since it's Kurva the Muchach, a Kurva the Muchach trumps Rov, and that's what that's the assumption of this Gemara. Okay, but okay, you can compare this to Babasar and this again, like Alum Saturday. I just wanted to bring down Moshe because he does raise the issue. Okay. So now the Gemara talks about the next part of the Mishnah, where it said if it came in between the kinin and the gozli ola, gozli ozla, and it's going with the assumption that kinim were like Rabbanan, were kind of kini choiva, where one was an ola, one was a chatos. So the Gemara asks the question: the kasha b'yesh chatos kreiv oila? Can the chatos be brought as an oila? This is there's chatas money here, potentially chatas money here. How can you possibly use an oila? To read Baz a little elaborate a little bit. He had part of the kasha. Yesh chatas kreiv oila. Klamar the iguf tikar oila. We say that the chatas itself brought an oila. The lady in Joshua Yodel El, but so perik above we had the measure Yodel coin rock. Dafka the most chatas of Hashem have ola. What's extra for Chatas Hashem is Ola. Dainu Amo Shalo Ye Ola. That it's money can be brought as an Ola. Excess money. Ava Ein Gufe Korev Ola, but Chatas itself cannot be brought as an Ola. It's a pair of Dalocha Dalit, right? Then he quotes the Gemara about this. So how can this be brought as an Ola? Right? How if it was brought for kini chayv, how can you then use it to go say ola? So Rabbi Chizkiah and Rabbi Achi, the Girsa here is Acha. Okay, Chizkiah and I guess Acha both said b'shem Hashem and Lakish deny based on Masar Sheikar V'Olos. It's a lay based in master thing, right? That whatever is left over, in other words, whatever is left over from the for the kinin, what can be brought as olos. Now, this not. I'm going to go to Takan Chadatin's shot here. So it says, Base and Musaros. It's not really Mosaros here. Mosaros we talk about previous back, and Mosaros is he had chatos funds, he had leftover money. Yoda said it could come, and like the Kribrid Ba says, it's olos. But here it's Kai Gadushi's Vosway they should never do. They're left over, so to speak, because they got lost. You can't bring them as kinim anymore. So therefore it's like a Mosar Chatos. And on bare base of Mosar that we learned Mosar in the Dava that the Mosar is Dava V'hein. So this lost thing is like a Mosar, and therefore it can be brought as a Korban Olah. Of course, only because of Tanai Basin that they said, okay, everything which is lost gets a status of Moiser Chatos, just like Moiser Chatos, every funds left up after you brought the Chatos can be brought Olah, so do these lost funds have a status as a Mosaros, and they can be brought as Olos as well. Not sure if Tanai Chaim felt it was important to add the word who, not based on Mosaros. I don't know. Okay, but then one has a very basic question. Isha, the Shizkos has a gears of being Cain Ha'isha, the same principle. Isha is my miskaperis. Yeah, but this money was in the Canaan, and some woman had to have has to have a kapara. She needed to bring a ken chayva, and now this is being brought as a ken nedava. So how is she going to get her kapara and be mutar lecha b'kachim? Whatever, the chatos is never sacrificed. So, Tanai Basin is another Tanai Basin. This is a different type of Tanai Basin. Just checking here to see if there's anything else I have to see. No. Masapek es hakinin, hu masapek es hapsulos. Now here the Groz Girsa es ha'ovdos. And of course, Takan Chadin goes that Girsa too. And the Reb Chaim also changed the Girsa here. In other words, the person who supplies the kinim had to give at the end of the day if they found lost money, which I'm sure is very rare. So he had to give an additional kinim, definite kinim, corresponding to the lost money in case it was from a woman who lost it. And as Korban Eda says, I've zoomed up to the last career on this page in the article. Tanai Basin Masape as Hakinim Masapik as Absulos, or according to the Ovdos, of Avzu, Absulosi, because he didn't change the gears, so it calls Absulos. So Masapik Kinim Litin Kinim Kifia Mos and Imtsoim. It's Kinim based on the much is found. V'shochtan Chatos al Sofik. And you checked it, chatos, al safik, because maybe all this money was chatos. This chatos opa safik ain't an echelas, because the principle chatos of does come out safik, and it's just not eaten by the Kohanim. So the amount of money which is found, you have to give the, he has to bring that money as chatos in order to be mechaper for the women who might need this as kapara. Okay, that brings us to the end of Nun Aleph and Beis and the two dots. So therefore, we'll stop here for today.